Now for today's video, I get the good job of kicking back, relaxing and allowing everybody else to do all the hard work. It sounds bloody perfect. The first one of those is the coach's voice. Now, what a fantastic resource this is. A library of information on different coaches around the world. Now, the one that we focus on today is Mr. Pochettino and his tactic, particularly at Tottenham Hotspur. His brilliant 4-2-3-1 with Dele Alli when he was good, remember him? And it documents all the way along the exact tactic and how they played and what they did for their team. It also goes into Paris Saint-Germain, but for the purpose of this, we focused on the Spurs tactic. Now, over in the Discord, I've set them a monthly challenge to look at this tactic, to recreate it, but with Chelsea. Now, let's be honest, Chelsea are a massively inflated squad. They're a bit of a mess in the real world, and in the game, they are as well. I don't know about you, comments below. Do you find that Chelsea tend to finish like 10th, 11th, and that's a good season for them? For me, they have a nightmare. They've got some fantastic players. So the challenge for the Discord was to basically put this Pochettino tactic together, 4-2-3-1, or their version of it, to go to the end of the season, and we put certain volume metrics in place, taken from that brilliant article from the coach's voice, and we've got a winner. I'm going to go through that tactic shortly. But before we look at that tactic, we're going to look at the coach's voice website. One more area I want to look at, and is a fantastic resource. And today we've got a 30% off offer for you if you use the code TMS30 on their website. It's called the Coach's Voice Academy. It is an incredible resource, literally from the grassroots of football all the way to the upper echelons, with Premier League managers all contributing to it. It is incredible. Set piece coaching, you get webinars from proper professionals. Will Still is on you doing a masterclass. Come on, fantastic. Even if you got your under 12s and you want to get speed, agility and fitness, they've got everything on you. It's such a good resource that you can tap into and exhaust. Honestly, there's loads in here. We've touched upon the masterclass. This is one of my favorite areas. It's a really nice way, and one of my boys, Russell Martin, the Swansea manager, and it's such a well put together website. It goes into all the details. I love it. One of the best resources out there for any football manager fan, for any budding coach or anybody involved with football. Have a look. We'll put a link down below, not only to the website, not only to the article for the Pochettino tactic, but also for the code to pop along. If you did want to jump into the Coach's Voice Academy, there is that 30% discount. Go and check it out. But now the tactic. Mikael Svensson, he smashed it, to be fair. The Dane in game with 28 caps and 13 goals, obviously not the real person, but Mikael has absolutely bossed it. In terms of the season with Chelsea, wow, look at this. They won the Premier League at Atalanta, 6 points clear of Liverpool. They picked up a friendly cup. That means nothing, let's be honest. The friendly cup, they winners in the third place playoff. That's a strange little, pool of competitions, but this is where it gets real. They won the Champions League in extra time over AC Milan, beating the 4-1. They also picked up the FA Cup, and they also came to the semi-finals in the Carabao Cup, culminating in a brilliant season for Chelsea. If we take a look at the squad and how they all performed, Kai Havertz rocked up with 32 goals. Mason Mount, who, to be fair, for every person who competed in this, they got a tune out of this boy. Now, I've never used him in Football Manager, and in real life, I'm kind of on the fence of how he would do. But in this game, he's bossed it. 20 goals, 7 assists even in the 38 games. Mason Mount, what a baller. And Svensson has got a tune out of these players. Everybody has got a brilliant average rating across the board. And there's not that many new names. Let's take a look at the transfer history. Did he bring anybody in whatsoever? You got to scroll a while for Chelsea, let's be honest. They've got one boy out, Slalina, and they brought in Paulo Dybala, who, to be fair, let's be honest, he's not going to make that much difference, even though 11 goals in 13. That's not bad at all, mate. Cracking signing. So should we take a look at this tactic then? This is, of course, owned by Mikael Svensson. Nothing to do with ourselves here, the TMS. He's a valued member of the Discord. There's a link down below to that if you want to join. And this will also be a download if you do want to try it out. This is his interpretation of that Coach's Voice article where they put a brilliant detail of how Poch would play. And we put that together to see how he would do at Chelsea. And as things stand, he's agreed to go to Chelsea, which is fantastic. The worlds are colliding. So let's start off at the back. Mendy, sweeper keeper on support with Chilwell with a wing-back support on one wing. Passes short to sit narrow, close them more, tackle harder. Reece James on the other wing, slightly different, sit narrower, close them more and tackle harder. Mendy had tackle harder on him. That's an overpowered instruction. I think a lot of people are using that. In terms of the ball play defenders, we got one on one side, passes shorter, dribble more, stay wider and tackle harder, and that's replicated with Fofana. Coming into the centre part, we got two volantes. Kovacic being one, take fewer risks, shoot less often and tackle harder. And then Fernandes would dribble more, shoot less often and move into channels. Now these aren't the specific roles that I would suggest the Poch is using, but in terms of how this works in Football Manager and the volumetrics we've looked at, these are the ones that will get them through. So for example, with Svensson, what we looked at is the interceptions that have been made to prove how much of a pressing team he is. They got 809. This is the tactic that had the most possession out of all the ones tested, rocking up with 58%. After that, it was a pass completion of 88%. Two very important volumetrics of Pochettino's tactic. And what was really important with this one was the progressive passes. So the Christian Eriksen effect that was at Spurs, the progressive passes coming forward. Fernandes was the one leading the way with almost 9 progressive passes per game, which was the highest in the league. Absolutely bossed it. Moving forward, Mudryk was on one wing as an inside forward attack with shoot less often, roam from position and tackle harder. With Dybala on the other wing with exactly the same instructions. And then the Dele Alli role. This was an important one to us. Now, even though Felix is there, this was taken by Mason Mount, who, as we saw, scored 20 goals in all competitions. Now, behind the striker is what we called the Dele Alli role. Such an important role that worked really well for Pochettino at Spurs. And it was a key volumetric. Now, Felix is in the position right now, but as we know, it was Mason Mount who picked up 20 goals in all competitions. And then moving forward to the pressing forward, which was Harry Kane. I don't know about this role again in the real world, but it did work very well. Harry Kane bossed it as a pressing team, so I'd argue maybe it is kind of the right one with dribble more in there. Kai had a brilliant season, 32 goals in all competitions. You can't argue that he's got a tune out of him playing this. In terms of other volumetrics we've looked at is dribbles per 90. Now, in terms of the wing backs with Pochettino, they get up and down that pitch and they do not stop running. So dribbles, they came from these two areas in particular with Svensson's tactic. And another important volumetric was key passes per 90 minute. Again, looking at that Christian Eriksen effect and even the Dele Alli effect, as he used to have some proper key passes sat in behind Harry Kane. And Mason Mount was rocking up with 3.64 every game. That was one of the lower numbers of the 4, but overall, of course, he has won it. So a brilliant tactic. If we take a look at the team instructions, it's a positive mentality. Starting off with in possession is much shorter passing. He's passing into space. He's playing out of defence with whipped crosses, dribbling less, working the ball into the box, playing for the set pieces with a lower tempo. And then in transition, he's taking shorter kicks, distributing to the back line, the centre backs and the full box, slowing it down with a counter and a counter press. And then out of possession, very much the Pochettino vein, pressing high. High press, standard defensive line, triggering very high indeed, get stuck in and drop off more. Comments down below. Do you think this is a Pochettino tactic? And if he is rocking this with Chelsea, how do you think he would do? This is very much interpretive. We've looked at the volumetrics from that article. We've looked at Pochettino's principles. And this is the tactic that covers the most of them. It's not going to be perfect, we're not saying that, but it's a very good tactic in Football Manager 23. Download link will be down below. Jump on into the Discord and help yourself to it. But again, a very special thank you, not only to Svensson, who's won this challenge, but to Mike, to Alex Dobb, to Ollie, all of those boys who got involved. We simmed each season as a tester, and they all finished in the top 3, smashing the league. 4 brilliant tactics, but there has to be a winner. And Svensson is that boy. Brilliant tactic, to be fair. I've tried it in a few teams and it does work across the board. So if you want to download, like I say, it's down below. So special mention to Svensson, all the boys who jumped in, and of course the coach's voice, who we've taken the article, interpreted for Football Manager. A brilliant website, a brilliant resource. Don't forget TMS30. If you do want to try out that Coach's Voice Academy, it is fantastic. Link down below. I'll catch you soon. Watch this video next. All the best.